In the name of God, most merciful, most compassionate. Your Excellency Minister Faiz, representative of His Royal Highness Prince Faisal bin al-Hussein. Your Excellency Mr. Amr Musa. Your Excellency Mr. Hamid. Ambassador Pete de Klerk. Distinguished friends, colleagues, and participants. Welcome to Jordan and welcome to the Amman Security Colloquium, the official kickoff of the Arab Institute for Security Studies annual meeting, traditionally focusing on security, non-proliferation, nuclear security, and WMD free zone issues. I'm happy to welcome participants in this meeting, gathering from more than 120 institutions, organizations, and countries. Our first guest has just landed in Amman. A presidential candidate in Egypt, a man with an Arab spirit, and songs were named after him. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite Mr. Amr Musa for a speech.
شكرا أولا للدعوة اللي وجهت إلي، وأسعد كثيرا أن ألتقي بزملاء وأصدقاء قدامى زي هانس بليكس اللي له باع طويل في موضوعات نزع السلاح والأسلحة النووية، وكان رئيسا مقدرا وذو مواقف أمينة عندما كان رئيسا لوكالة الطاقة النووية. إنما صداقتنا تعود إلى سنوات طويلة في شرخ الشباب أو في أواخر الصبا. كما أشكر دكتور أيمن للدعوة وحسن استقبالك، وأعتذر لكم أنه سأكون مختصرا لدواعي معينة، فدعوني أدخل في الموضوع مباشرة. موضوع نزع السلاح أو إقامة منطقة خالية من الأسلحة النووية في الشرق الأوسط موضوع أساسي لأمن هذه المنطقة، ويعتبر جزء مهم جدا من بناء مستقبل الشرق الأوسط. بمعنى آخر، أنه طالما أن هناك حركة تغيير عربية وحركة التغيير العربية ستؤدي إلى حركة تغيير في منطقة الشرق الأوسط بأسرها، فلا بد أن نتوقع وأن نعمل على إعادة النظر في النظام الأمني الإقليمي أو نظام الأمن الإقليمي. لا بد مع إقامة نظام جديد ديمقراطي يهتم بحقوق الإنسان، يهتم بالتنمية، أن يهتم أيضا بالأمن، وكله بمعاني جديدة، معاني ليست المعاني السابقة. فلا بد أن نفكر، وهنا أنا أرى كثيرين من الجناح العسكري للدولة العربية والأمة العربية، أنه ضروري من بدء التفكير ودراسة أي نظام أمن إقليمي يمكننا أن احنا نعمل على تعميقه، على رسمه أولا والاتفاق عليه ثانيا، وأنه يكون جزء، ضمان أن يكون جزءا من الشرق الأوسط الجديد ثالثا. أساس النظام الإقليمي إقامة منطقة خالية من الأسلحة النووية وأسلحة الدمار الشامل في المنطقة. وأساس إقامة منطقة خالية من الأسلحة النووية وأسلحة الدمار الشامل أن تكون مقاربة لها مصداقية، مقاربة فيها مصلحة واضحة، فيها مصداقية، وفيها أيضا حسن إدارة للأمور. وحين أتحدث عن الأمن الإقليمي وعن إقامة منطقة خالية من الأسلحة النووية، لا يصح البدء بدولة معينة لمصلحة دولة أخرى معينة، وإنما أن نتحدث وننطلق من المصلحة الإقليمية. فما يمكنش أبدأ بالتنشيط موضوعات نزع سلاح نووي، لأن إيران متهمة بالتسلح النووي، وما يمكنش أبدأ هذا النقاش وهناك ما يسمى بالدبل ستاندرد في المقاربة القائمة. وما يمكنش ان احنا كمان نفكر في الامن الاقليمي ونزع السلاح النووي في المنطقة دون ان نفكر في اولا ما هي هذه المنطقة. وانا بقترح انه لا تكون فقط المنطقة العربية او يعني شمال افريقيا او غرب اسيا، او ان تكون الشرق الاوسط بمعناه الاوسع، وانما ايضا ان ناخذ في الاعتبار البعد المتوسطي او بعد البحر المتوسط، انه ضروري حين نناقش هذا الامن نناقشه على اتساع المنطقه التي تحمي الامن العربي. كان فيه مؤتمر متوقع عقده في هلسنكي في ظرف شهور، الاخبار بتقول انه اتأجل. وطبعا ده كان متوقعا، انا كنت واحد من الناس اللي بيتوقعوا انه هذا المؤتمر لن ينعقد، لانه هو في الاساس كان لعبه لتخطي عرض الامر على الوكاله الدوليه للطاقه النوويه واستمرار عرضه. كان لعبه، ومع الاسف ان هناك من قبلها، بل هناك من اقترحها وتبناها من العرب، وهذا كان خطأ استراتيجي كبير جدا، على عكس ما موقف الجامعه العربيه اللي قال كل ده لعب جيمكس، زي ما انا استخدمت هذه الكلمه في هذا الوقت. مؤتمر هلسنكي جاء وذهب لانه لم يكن اقتراحا جديا. الان ضروري نبحث ونناقش علنا لماذا اقترح هلسنكي ولماذا اجل او الغي هلسنكي. ليه؟ لأن هناك قوى بتحرك هذه الأمور طبقا لمصالحها الخاصة بصرف النظر عن مصلحة الأمن الإقليمي أو مصلحة المبادرة الخاصة بالأسلحة، بنزع السلاح النووي، بل هو على عكس ذلك تماما. الموضوع ده موضوع خطير جدا، وأنا بقترح أن يكون دائما على أجندة كل واحد فينا بيفكر في مستقبل هذه المنطقة. يعني لما نتكلم عن التغيير العربي بيسموه الربيع العربي، انه هي حركه تغيير، مش لا ربيع ولا خريف، هي حركه تغيير اساسيه في العالم العربي، وحيكون فيه الكثير من المطبات والعوائق والى اخره، انما هتنعدل بعد شويه، بعد كم سنه يعني. في نقاشنا لهذا التغيير يجب أن نناقش معه الوضع الأمني والنظام الإقليمي الجديد، وبالذات الموضوع النووي، وأيضا أن نصر على أن المقاربة لإقامة هذه المنطقة لا يصح أبدا أن تستند إلى مصلحة دولة واحدة أبدا، إلى مصلحة الإقليم كله، المنطقة كلها، مصلحة العرب زي هي مصلحة تركيا، زي مصلحة إيران، وأيضا مصلحة إسرائيل إذا أرادت أن تعيش في سلام وفي إطار أمن تعاقدي، وليس أمن فرض القوة والقوة في سنوات وعقود وقرون تتحرك من هذا الطرف إلى ذاك. الآن الهدف هذا المؤتمر كان التمهيد لمؤتمر هلسنكي، ومؤتمر هلسنكي لن ينعقد إذا التمهيد لم يصبح منطقيا، نمهد للا شيء، إنما يجب أن نمهد لعودة الالتزام العربي والتعبئة أيضا لإقامة المنطقة الخالية من الأسلحة النووية في الشرق الأوسط. سمعت أيضا الحقيقة الدكتور أيمن اللي قال لي إنه في اقتراح خاص بجبهة أو زي منتدى عربي لنزع السلاح النووي. أنا أرجو، أنا عارف الدكتور شاكر وهو أحد خبرائنا الكبار في هذه المنطقة، أرجو أن إحنا لا نسابق أنفسنا في موضوع التزام العرب بنزع السلاح دون التزام المقابل. هذا العمل لا نسابق لا أنفسنا ولا الآخرين، ونمشي بقدر سير الآخرين، فإذا تعوقوا فلنقف نتوقف، إنما يعني النشاط الأكاديمي مرحب به، ولكن على ألا يكون على حساب الموقف العربي اللي ضروري يتأسس على خطوة بخطوة، وأن نزع السلاح علينا جميعا، التزام علينا جميعا، وليس على العرب فقط أبدا، ليس على الدول العربية فقط، لأنه الميزان انحرف انحرافا خطيرا، الميزان السياسي، الميزان الاقتصادي، الميزان الأمني، كل الموازين انحرفت انحرافا خطيرا لغير صالح العرب، فيما عدا عناصر يمكننا ان احنا نستفيد بها، مثل حركة التغيير حين نضعها على الطريق السليم، وفيما عدا التطلع الكبير للشعوب العربية وللشباب العربي إلى مستقبل مختلف. هذا المستقبل المختلف ضروري يكون مستقبل آمن، هذا الأمن لا يتأتى إلا بتوازن الأمن، وليس بأن احنا نمشي على الطريق اللي احنا فيه اللي فقدنا فيه عنصر الأمن وتوازنه وأصبح لغير صالحنا. من الصعب ان الواحد يتكلم ويقول له فاضل لك 7 دقائق زي ما قلت علي. انما على كل حال خلينا نتكلم شويه عن حركه التغيير اللي هي اساس الشغل بتاعنا. حركه التغيير اثبتت وكانت نتيجه لاسباب معروفه، انما ما كان يقال أنه العرب لا يتفقون ولهم مشارب مختلفة ويعني زي هوبليس كيس، كان الأمر متعلقا بغير الشعوب العربية. حين انفجر الوضع في تونس قامت الدول الشعوب العربية كلها من المشرق والمغرب، مما يشير ويؤكد أن هناك تفاعلا إيجابيا واضحا وقويا بين المشاعر العربية، الشعوب العربية والمصالح العربية، بصرف النظر عن توجه الحكومات، وإلا ما كان شاب واحد في قرية نائية في تونس قد لا يعلم بها التوانسة نفسهم يفكر كل هذه الطاقات في كل الدول العربية مشرقا ومغربا. ده واحد. 2، انه حركة التغيير هذه في صالحنا جميعا حتى ولو كان لها سلبياتها اليوم، لأنه ما يمكنش أن يستمر العرب وتستمر المجتمعات العربية لتعيش في قرون أو قرن ماض والعالم كله بيقفز إلى الأمام. ده هذه الحركة، هذه الثورات، هذه الروح، علشان ما ندخلش في مقارنة ثورة بثورة أو وضع بوضع، هذه الروح الثورية، روح التغيير بدأت تبني الجسور ما بين حاضر العربي ومستقبله، والجسور ما بين الحاضر العربي والحاضر الدولي، في غير المجتمعات العربية. حركة التغيير أرجو أن السلبيات القائمة الآن والصعوبات التي صاحبتها إنها لا تجعلنا نيأس. حركة التغيير مسألة مهمة، إنما يجب أن تكون حركة تغيير إيجابية، حركة تربط المجتمعات العربية بالمستقبل، حركة تحافظ على التراث العربي، ولكن لا يجب أن يكبلها أي تراث في حركتها، بل يجب أن تستند إليه وإلى الروح السمحة وإلى روح الانطلاق وإلى روح الشباب. حركة التغيير العربية هي في صالحنا جميعا، ودي مسألة أنا أراها مهمة، وأنتهز الفرصة وأنا بتحدث إلى هذا الجمع المثقف أنه أشير إلى هذا العنصر الرئيسي المهم. العنصر الثالث الحركة العربية فيما بين الدول العربية، وأنا بأرجو وبعتقد أن النظام العربي يجب أيضا أن يتغير. النظام العربي اللي بني سنة 1945 بعد الحرب العالمية الثانية جاء أوان إعادة النظر فيه، بس إعادة إيجابية للنظر فيه. يعني نحن لا نريد أن ندمر، أن نكسر، إنما نريد أن نبني، أن نطور، أن نبني على ما جرى ما تم. يبقى أنا بقترح عليكم، ونحن في رحاب جامعة وفي رحاب معهد دراسي، إنه ندرس، وأنا مسعد أن أشارك في هذا، نظام عربي جديد وأفكاره، نظام إقليمي جديد وأفكاره، نظام أمني جديد وأفكاره، حركة التغيير العربي، حركة التغيير العربية، وكيف نحافظ عليها ونجعلها حركة تغيير إيجابي لا يكون على حساب شعوب أو على حساب ما مثل ما نراه في سوريا النهاردة، وده شيء مؤسف للغاية. إنما حركة التغيير سوف تنتصر، والحركة نحو المستقبل سوف تنتصر، إنما إذا أخذنا الأمور بجدية وبعدنا عن الهزل في إدارة الأمور والذي طابع السياسة العربية لعقود كثيرة. أنا أشكركم وآسف للاختصار، وإنما أنا سعيد جدا بالوقت القصير اللي أنا قضيته في حضور هذه النخبة المحترمة من المسؤولين والمثقفين والمفكرين العرب. وأشكرك أخو أيمن، and thank you very much and very good to see you again.
معليك، احنا سعيدين جدا بحضورك لتلبية الدعوة، يعني متفهمين جدا لارتباطاتك معالي الأمين العام. لديه الآن لقاء مع جلالة الملك، وبالتالي شكرا جزيلا لحضورك. شكرا جزيلا. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back again. His Excellency Mr. Amr Musa had to leave due to an engagement and bilateral discussions with His Majesty King Abdullah. We very much appreciate his presence with us, and now we resume our second panel under the title Amman Security Colloquium. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a partner, a good friend, and somebody who's well known of connecting people of similar interests together. Kenneth Longo, President of the Partnership for Global Security. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Thank Minister Freyes, representing His Royal Highness Prince Faisal, the Clerk, Ambassador to Jordan from the Netherlands, Hans Blix, former Director General of the IAEA, and everyone else in the audience. Thank you very much for coming to this event today. This is the third year that I've had the pleasure of cooperating with Ayman and with the Arab Institute for Security Studies in organizing a conference of this type. And as usual, the audience is both impressive and expert and extremely diverse. For a number of us that come to this conference, it's very illuminating to be able to hear directly from the voices of people in the region, and also to be able to put up some ideas on the table from all sides so that people can respond to them. It really is important for the exchange of ideas and for the creation of partnerships as we try to solve these very difficult issues related to global security, WMD security, disarmament, the Middle East weapon-free zone, and a variety of other issues. I'm thankful to Ayman that he allows us to address this issue of nuclear security, which is separate from the WMD free zone, but related because it's focused on the issue of preventing nuclear terrorism and preventing any kind of nuclear disaster. It's a parallel process, and one that I think there's a lot of opportunity for dialogue and for cooperation outside some of the usual political disagreements and some of the old paradigms that we've been able to have to operate under over these last several decades. I'm going to be very brief. I just want to make a few points from my perspective. As we heard from Mr. Musa, it's clear that the world is changing rapidly, and responding to that change is both difficult and necessary. We need to continue to build coalitions and establish multinational and, more importantly, almost multi-sector partnerships so that the best ideas from a range of cultures and disciplines can be drawn upon to address these security challenges that we face today. Both the WMD free zone process as well as the Nuclear Security Summit process and the MPT and other processes demonstrate the importance of this collaborative principle. They're governmental at their core, but they also bring in civil society. And there's an importance in having not just governments, but also experts in the various disciplines that are involved in the issue. So as I see the process moving forward, certainly from the nuclear side, we need to create a safe and secure nuclear future for all countries that want to enjoy the benefits of peaceful nuclear power and peaceful nuclear technology, which means no excessive burdens from bureaucracy and a streamlined regime, no technology denials except for those that are outside the rule, and certainly special responsibility for the protection of people and the environment. In my view, the Middle East can be a leader in demonstrating 21st century nuclear security governance and new principles and new ideas. And I think that that is one of the objectives that we have in this meeting. And I again thank everyone for attending, and I thank very much Ayman for being such an excellent partner once again this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. 2012 represents a milestone in terms of efforts aiming to establish a WMD free zone in the Middle East. Reports appearing yesterday suggest that the Helsinki meeting, as suggested this morning by Mr. Amr Musa, is not to be held on time and possibly postponed indefinitely. This is indeed a setback. Coming and living in a region that is flooded with setbacks and bad news, I think that this should not stop us from pursuing our goal of making the region more secure, more safe, and less vulnerable. I believe that our efforts should continue and sustain. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I invite the Ambassador Pete de Klerk to deliver his speech. Ambassador Pete de Klerk is the Sherpa of the next security summit, nuclear security summit, that is going to be held in the Netherlands. Former chairman of the Nuclear Security Group and the ambassador of the Netherlands in Amman. Ambassador Pete.
I should like.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ivan. Welcome to everyone, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to congratulate the organizers for bringing again such an eminent group together here in Amman. And the Netherlands is happy to be among the sponsors of this forum. Nuclear non-proliferation, disarmament, and nuclear security remain as important as ever. For us, the non-proliferation treaty with the IAEA safeguard system intrinsically linked to it is certainly one of the key advancements, key achievements in this field. As you all know, the NPT parties take stock every 5 years, and the endorsement of the last review conference for organizing a conference on the Middle East as a zone free of weapons of mass destruction was one of the main outcomes of that conference. But 2012 is drawing to a close. We haven't seen white smoke yet, and the latest news, as Ayman just said, is that the conference is not going to take place. Now, Finland bravely stepped forth as the facilitator for trying to lay the ground for this conference. But laying the ground as the earth is trembling and shaking is difficult. And later in this conference, in one of the sessions, we'll have the opportunity to investigate further what the impact of regional turmoil in the current political landscape is on the prospect for organizing such a conference. Now, the facilitator probably has made considerable progress, but the question is whether that's enough now or in the near future. And we, as the Netherlands, we stand ready to further contribute, as also EU foreign ministers in Cairo today will underline. It is difficult to speak about such a zone without mentioning Iran and Israel, so let me make a few remarks. That's of course in the nuclear dimension, and that's not to say that the other dimensions are to be ignored, and certainly we have heard lots about serious chemical weapons capabilities in the last few months. Now, the nuclear situation in Iran is relevant for any discussion on a nuclear weapon-free zone in the Middle East, primarily because any future zone will need to have proper verification procedures and a procedure for handling non-compliance. A new IAEA report is to be released in a few days, but recently Director General Amano said that the dialogue between the IAEA and Iran has not led to concrete results, and he repeated that in Baghdad a few days ago. And this is a serious state of affairs. And the first thing that would need to happen, according to my government, is that Iran would heed the repeated calls of the Security Council and the IAEA. It has to demonstrate convincingly that its nuclear program is 100% peaceful. How else could a zone free of weapons of mass destruction come nearer? In the case of Iran, the NPT doesn't work as it should. Normally, being a party to the NPT works as a confidence-building measure. A state can demonstrate that it acts in accordance with the treaty. And nearly all states have demonstrated that the treaty is in their national interest, and in the case of Iran, this is much more problematic. Now, we know that there are, of course, a number of countries not party to the treaty, and we all know who these, which countries they are. And we have to realize that these countries legally are in a different position, and the question is, as the the decision to convene this conference about the zone has been taken in a forum where in particular Israel was not a party. The question is how to involve Israel. In the end, the result of such a conference would need to involve all countries in the region, including Israel. And the question is, how can we take steps to involve indeed all countries? What can we offer all countries, including Israel, to come to the table and discuss these matters? What role do the other states in the region play? Where are their voices? What have they done to bring about a positive atmosphere? Having said that, let me add a few remarks. As Ayman mentioned, my role in the Nuclear Security Summit as the Sherpa for this meeting, this summit meeting in The Hague in 2014. The non-proliferation regime is built on the assumption that proliferation of weapons of mass destruction to other states makes the world a more dangerous place. And of course, we fully subscribe to that. But the risks that weapons of mass destruction fall in the hands of non-state actors, in particular those who aim at sowing terror with these weapons or with the materials of which they are made, are certainly not negligible. Therefore, the Netherlands supports efforts of the Security Council and other actors to block possible pathways for non-state actors to acquire these weapons and materials. Security Council Resolution 1540 and follow-on resolutions are important instruments in this regard, but also treaties like the International Convention on the Suppression of Acts of Nuclear Terrorism and the amended Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material. The Netherlands, as the host of the 2014 Nuclear Security Summit, is committed to further strengthening this regime. First of all, the legal regime. And this should come as no surprise, as the conference is to take place in The Hague, which we like to call the legal capital of the world. And the high-level meeting at the end of September in New York, organized by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, rightly focused on this legal dimension. The entry into force of the amended Convention on the Physical Protection of Nuclear Material is of crucial importance, and Jordan there has done its homework, but many other countries have not. In addition to this legal dimension, there are many practical steps states can and should take to improve the security of nuclear material. The last Nuclear Security Summit in Seoul showed considerable progress in this regard, and many ideas came to the table that need further work. Jordan's proposal for setting up teams to counter nuclear smuggling is one of them. Among the most important questions is the future of this summit process. Of course, leaders will have to speak out on this important question, but so far we detect a converging wish to make the summit in The Hague the last one in a series. And the reasons are fairly simple. President Obama, freshly re-elected, started the process and called for a period of 4 years in which efforts would be intensified to secure all vulnerable nuclear material around the world. And secondly, to realize this goal, some countries are more important than others, but in the end, efforts must be built on a global basis and be anchored in a multilateral body where all states have a say. And the IAEA seems the most logical candidate for that. But it all depends on the progress we can make in the run-up to the 2014 summit and whether we can channel the energy the summit process has generated in the right direction. That preparatory process will start with the meeting of the different Sherpas in Istanbul later this month. Let me stop there. Let me express again our gratitude for the hard work of Mr. Khalil and the staff of the Arab Institute for Security Studies for organizing once again this highly relevant and topical meeting, and I look forward to the debates in the different panels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and sincere thanks for the government of the Netherlands for supporting this meeting. Iraq didn't have any nuclear weapons or any other form of weapons of mass destruction. That was one of the conclusions of our next guest, Ambassador Hans Blix, Chief Inspector of Iraq, former Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, and a former Minister of Sweden. Hans, yours.
Thank you very much. Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, fellow participants, I appreciate the opportunity to make a few comments at the opening of our meeting. And I'm glad that it's taking place at the Jordan University. Universities are for free critical thinking and examining reality with free thinking. We start from a sad reality of the Middle East with tensions, war, suffering, huge numbers of refugees. It is an explosive box, and part of the contents of this box is nuclear material. Israeli plutonium in bombs, and Iranian enriched uranium that could be further enriched and go into bombs. Many measures over a long time will be needed to lower tensions, ending the war in Syria, solving the Palestinian issue, creating stability. There will be many conferences, track 1, track 2, track 1.5, but today I feel like focusing on 2. First, the meeting that was projected for Helsinki on a zone free of weapons of mass destruction, and that might take place later, now being deferred. The second meeting I'm thinking of is the one expected between the P5, the permanent 5 members of the Security Council, plus Germany and Iran. The project zone meeting in Helsinki has deep roots. All parties in the NPT have committed to make it a reality. In 1995, the NPT would hardly have been extended had it not been for a resolution about the zone. And in 2010, again, more recently, would not have ended positively, the NPT meeting would not have ended positively if there had not been the resolution about the zone of weapons of mass destruction. The idea of a zone is clearly prompted by the concern about Israeli nuclear weapons, but also by a wish to ensure that no states in the region should develop nuclear weapons. Israel has had its own methods of seeking to counter proliferation risks in the region. The bombing of its Iraq in Iraq in 1981, the bombing in Syria in 2007, and the urging of bombings in Iran. Perhaps the bombing method has not seemed sustainable in the long run. In any case, we know that Israel has also supported the concept of a zone free of weapons of mass destruction by voting for resolutions in the General Assembly of the UN. But they've also always added, not just now. First we need peace, thereafter we can discuss the zone. Or in discussions with Israelis you may hear, at first there must be democracy, and then we can discuss the zone. Or the latest I heard was that there must be stability, and then we can discuss the zone. So not just now, not in December, not in Helsinki, a little later, maybe, hopefully. It is true that détente, stability, may facilitate disarmament, but it's also true that disarmament and arms control measures may facilitate détente and ease tensions. There may also be danger in delaying the discussion of a zone that would bring in all states in the region. Who knows what could happen while we are waiting? At a time when the world's attention is riveted at the uranium enrichment program in Iran, it would be strange, however, if a discussion about the zone was limited to Israeli nuclear weapons. My out-of-the-box thinking leads me to the idea that a zone should do more than bringing Israel to do away with its weapons capacity. It should bring Iran to do away with its enrichment program. And it should bring all the states in the region to abstain, perhaps for say 25 years, from both enrichment and processing and reprocessing for plutonium, and making bombs, of course. All of this. In my view, neither is Iran's enrichment an illegal activity. It is sanctioned by the NPT. Nor are Israel's weapons illegal. They are not parties to the NPT. But both lead to tension in the region, a tension that needs to be diffused. Could Israel not live with an extended deterrence provided by the United States? Well, there are states doing that. Germany without a bomb relies upon extended deterrence. Japan without a bomb also relies upon the extended deterrence for its security. And could Iran not live without international assurances? Could they not live with international assurances of supply of enriched uranium for their civilian reactors? Do they need to have enrichment of their own? It is clearly not economic. And for the longer run, it will not last because there is not enough uranium in the ground in Iran. There is a right to enrich, as we often hear from Iran, but there is no duty to enrich. You can suspend it. You can agree for a period of time to stay away from it. A zone should also bring commitments from all states in the region to stay away from enrichment for, say, 25 years. 25 years' time, many things can happen. Enrichment may have new methods, etc. So it might be unwise to go for a longer period of that. But 25 years without enrichment, without reprocessing, would be an important feature in the zone. All, of course, under intrusive inspection. And I have some experience of that, as Mr. reminded us. We were in Iraq and carried out some 700 inspections, and we did not conclude that there is nothing. We concluded that we had been professional and effective, and after 700 inspections with the most modern techniques, we have not found anything. I don't think we can get further than that. And a zone for the Middle East would require as effective inspection as we had, as intrusive rights of inspection as we had there. Could all this fit into a regional zone treaty? All kinds of objections will be raised, we know. How can you have a zone between states that don't recognize each other? Not all of them are parties to the NPT, etc. When I was a student at local university long ago, I had a professor who said that there are lawyers who can find difficulties in all solutions, and there are other lawyers who can find solutions for all difficulties. Well, I assure you that you can find solutions to a great many of these objections that we raised. Nuclear-free zones are said to be NPT+. Basis, the core of it being a commitment to have nuclear weapons, but you can also add what you like if you have a regional agreement. Parties are free to add elements they wish beyond the basic NPT commitment. First, they may wish to define exactly what they outlaw. Nuclear weapons are outlawed, yes. But do you mean by nuclear weapons only those that are deployed? Or do you also mean those that are stored? I suppose so. Do you mean also this fissile material that can easily be made into bombs? Or do you mean also installations by which you can produce enriched uranium or plutonium within a short time? So the definition of nuclear weapon is a fundamental point in the discussion of the zone, and I submit to you that it could be a definition that covers not only the hardware, but also the process of getting to the hardware, and that would bring in Iran, and it could bring in all the other states in the Middle East. So there is a way of combining the issue of the Israeli nuclear weapons and the issue of enrichment in uranium in Iran or elsewhere. Secondly, verification. Yes, IAEA verification, 153, is document 153, is very basic. We have added to that the additional protocol, which I was happy to see adopted by last year generalship of the IAEA. But even that is far from the kind of inspections that we had in Iraq, the rights that were given to us under the Security Council resolution. And there is no objection, there is no obstacle to countries in the Middle East agreeing to a system of verification that goes further even than the additional protocol. They might have added inspectors from the region, not only from the international community, but from the region. They might add challenge inspections. A great many things could be added. Just, it's free. You can imagine what you want. Third, waste handling. If you go for nuclear power in the Middle East, you will have problems with nuclear waste. It could also be covered in the zone. There are many regional agreements that do that, and you could do it. There could be an agreement about cooperation in the peaceful nuclear sphere. If you think very far, you can think of a Middle East atom, parallel with the Euratom. Cooperation. There are no conceptual limits to what states of the region may discuss and agree to do. Now, could they have done it in Helsinki? If not in Helsinki in December, could it be done later? I understand that only a few days actually were set aside, contemplated for Helsinki. And I think that the first meeting very likely will be only addressing the more fundamental aims to start a process that will take some time. The first would be a fulfillment of the commitment made in 1995 and in the year 2000. A commitment that I think one sees with bitterness that has not been fulfilled. That is a great need. Secondly, a confirmation of the wish to aim for a zone and a readiness to actively engage to discuss about its shape. And in such a context, countries can state their ideas and conditions. And there would also be the agreement about working groups and architecture of the process to go forward. Now, Mr. Chairman, let me conclude. If the P5+1 and Iran succeed soon in reaching some understanding, and I hope they do, perhaps Iran limiting enrichment to 4% or 3.5% or whatever, and perhaps sanctions being limited or suspended or partly limited, very good. It could perhaps encourage, but not replace, work on a zone where no one would be entitled to enrich, but all would get assurances of the supply of enriched uranium that they would need for peaceful nuclear operations. If instead of such meetings on the zone there were to be a bombing, well, then there would not be a second meeting regarding the zone. And the last point, bombing would certainly violate the UN Charter. Must we not ask, do those who urge bombing consider violations of the UN Charter less serious than suspected intentions to violate the Non-Proliferation Treaty?
I just realized yesterday that Pete was your former employee. Later on. So thank you very much, Mr. Handlix. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Your Excellency, Minister United States, representative of His Royal Highness Prince Faisal. Thank you very much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the opening session for the Unmanned Security Colloquium. Sincere thanks and appreciation goes to the Government of the Netherlands, Government of Norway, PGS, the Stanley Foundation, Ascend Institute. Sincere thanks also to Ambassador Sajjan Majali, Michelle Khan, Jennifer Miser, Tara Shaya, and Abu Mahdi. We now break for coffee and reconvene at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much.